Hello students, hope you all are fine at home. Only the government has uplifted some of the restrictions for us, but the virus is still around us. Be at home, be safe. This is me, Joycey Thomas, and I am here to deal with your English classes. Today, we are going to deal with Unit 2, The Sound of Music. This unit has two parts. Today, we are going to deal with Part 1. Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. Don't you feel surprised? How can a person listen to sound without hearing? This story deals with a girl, Evelyn Glennie, who was deaf. She was not deaf when she was born. She became deaf very gradually. It was a very slow process. Now, let's deal with the chapter. Coming into the first paragraph, the setting here is Evelyn Glennie is waiting at a railway platform. She is there to board a train to go to London. And why she is going to London? She wants to join Royal Academy for Music. How can a person learn music without hearing? Don't you feel something special in that? It's because of her hard work. Now let's see. Evelyn Glennie feels nervous as well as excited. Nervous in the sense she was a Scottish girl from a very rural area and she was not used to the city life in London. She didn't know what would happen next when she moves to London because the biggest challenge for her was that she was deaf. She was a deaf person and was not used to the busy life at London. She was a rural girl, a very poor girl. But she did not give up her passion. Coming into the second paragraph. Evelyn Glennie's loss of hearing had been gradual. Here we see that it was very gradual. Her deafness grew up very gradually. It was a very slow process. Who discovered that she became deaf? Yes, it was her mother, Isabel Glennie, that she found that her daughter, Evelyn Glennie, has become deaf. When did they notice it? Once, when Evelyn Glennie was waiting for her chance to play piano, the organizers had called her name because she was the next performer on the stage. But despite calling her name repeatedly, she did not hear anything. At that time, her mother, Isabel Glennie, recognized that Evelyn had become deaf completely. First, Evelyn tried to hide her deafness from teachers and friends. Why? We all are same. Do we show up our negativity to all the people around us? No. We try to hide it to a maximum. Like that, Evelyn also tried to hide her deafness from her teachers and friends. And at the age of 11, her marks started deteriorating. Her marks became poor. Her performance became poor in the class. She scored only low marks. At that time, her headmistress, that is, the headmistress of Evelyn Glennie, requested her parents, Evelyn's parents, to take her to a specialist. When they took Evelyn to the specialist, they discovered that Evelyn had become deaf. This was caused to a severe nerve damage in Evelyn's ears. That is Evelyn, she was very surprised. Everything around her seemed colorless. What happens when we find that once we have become deaf and everything around us changes? It takes some time to realize it, to come into reality. Like that, suddenly when Evelyn heard to this news that she has become deaf, she says that the world around her seems colorless. She didn't know what next. Now coming into the third paragraph. In spite of becoming deaf, Evelyn, she never wanted to give up. She took up the challenge. How many of us will do the same? What will happen when we grow deaf suddenly? Will we go to the school where we studied before? Like that, Evelyn's parents were also advised to take her to the school for deaf. But she, that is Evelyn, wanted to live a normal life like others. She never gave up. And due to this, when Evelyn noticed a girl playing xylophone, she also wanted to play xylophone. She also wanted to play with it. How can she? Let's look. At first, most of the teachers and friends of Evelyn discouraged her this idea. But Evelyn was not at all ready to give up. Then we see percussionist Ron Forbes spotted her potential. He discovered her potential. He recognized that this girl won't give up until she plays xylophone, because Evelyn was that much determined. She was very determined. She decided that she wanted to play xylophone at any cost. And then Ron Forbes discovered that. He asked her to begin with 2 large drums at the beginning. Yes, and this was how she achieved it? Through practice. She achieved this through the practice. Then, after continuous practice, Evelyn itself says, she recognized that she could hear or she could feel the higher drum to the upper waist of her waist and the lower one to the lower waist. Don't you feel surprised? How is it possible? Yes, it's possible only because of hard work. It's possible due to her determination. She was willing and she wanted to do it. She was never ready to give up. Yes, her practice and her determination had a result. And in the next paragraph, paragraph 4, we see that at the age of 16, Evelyn had managed to travel all around UK with her youth, that is young orchestra, young music band. She traveled whole around the UK. Marvelous, isn't it? Yes, music had become a part and parcel of her life. That much dedicated she was. She was really dedicated to her work. She admits it later. Let's see what happens. And after this, after traveling to UK, she started to give solo performances. Solo performances means single. She started to give single performances. And she had scored the highest marks in the history of academy. Don't you feel surprised? A deaf person scoring highest marks in the history of academy. Yes, we all feel surprised. It's possible for us also. How we are all blessed with different facilities. So we must utilize it up to a maximum. If a deaf girl can reach this much heights, then what about us? We can come into really blooming colors with the facilities around us. That much blessed we are. We must be thankful to God always. Yes, now again coming to the chapter, she started to give solo performances, and at the end of 3-year course, she got the highest mark in the academy. She had also managed to secure the most top awards. Yes, now coming into the 5th stanza, she says that Evelyn, she didn't accept her heroic achievement. She itself quotes that if you work hard and know where you are going, you will get there. That means you must have determination. You must set up your goal to reach your heights. Only a clear-cut goal and plan will take you to the top. She itself states that. And by this, she got right to the top. She became the world's most sought after multi-percussionist. Now, percussionist is a person who deals with musical instruments. Now, what do you mean by multi? Multi means more than 1 or 2 instruments. This girl, that is Evelyn Glennie, managed to get a mastery of over 1,000 instruments. Don't you feel surprised? Yes, really, because she was a deaf person. She had a mastery of over 1,000 instruments. Not 1 or 2, not even 100, 1,000. That is, she was able to deal with almost all the instruments in this world. Yes, really marvelous. Yes. Now coming into the 6th paragraph, and after this, after attaining this, she had a very hectic international schedule. She is a person who worked very effortlessly. She worked very effortlessly with the music, and as a result, she became at the top of the world. She says that she could speak even very flawlessly. Flawlessly means without any mistake. The reason behind is she states that she speaks flawlessly with a Scottish lilt, that is Scottish style, a way of speaking. She says that my speech is clear because I could hear till the age of 11. She says my speech is clear because I could hear till the age of 11. She had also managed to learn 2 languages despite she was deaf, and that was French and master basic Japanese. How many languages do we know? Have you tried to learn any other language despite the languages we know in common? You must give a try, I think. If a deaf girl can do or learn 2 other languages after when she became deaf, what about us? How many languages can we learn? We can learn many languages. She learned French and master basic Japanese. Now coming into the 7th paragraph. She explains, it pierces in through every part of my body. It tingles in the skin, my cheekbones, and even in hair. This shows how much dedicated she was. She says, it flows through every part of her body. She can sense music through every part of her body, maybe legs, hands, etc. She says that it creates a sensation in my skin as well. Not only skin, it creates a sensation in her cheekbones as well as her hair. So just think about it, how much dedicated she was. The music flows through her hair, skin as well as cheekbones. We can know that she senses music through each and every part of her body, even hair. So think about it, how much dedicated she was. She feels the resonances flowing into her body. It's a statement given by her. She feels the music flowing into her body. She was very dedicated and hardworking. She worked effortlessly to come to such a level. Coming into the 8th paragraph, we see Evelyn delights her audiences. She gives various performances. In the previous paragraphs, we saw that at the age of 16, she had travelled all around UK. She gives delight to each and every audiences she passes through. We see in 1991, she was presented with Royal Philharmonic Society's prestigious Soloist of the Year award. What is meant by soloist? Solo means single performer. She was awarded the Soloist Year of the award. She was, in spite of being alone, she gave the best performances all around the world. After this, James Blades, who is a master percussionist, says, God may have taken her hearing, but He has given her something extraordinary. He has given her back something extraordinary. Now, what is that extraordinary thing we find in her? She senses music through her different parts of the body. It's really an extraordinary thing. James Blades also states the same. What we hear, she feels. We usually listen through our ears, isn't it? What we hear through our ears, she just feels it through her different parts of the body, far more deeply than any of us. Far more deeply. She feels very deep in the sense, before she itself had stated that music tingles her hair, skin as well as cheekbones. She feels music more deeply than any of us. That is the reason she expresses music so beautifully. It's a statement made by James Blades, who is a master percussionist. Yes, really amazing. Coming into the 9th paragraph, Evelyn itself states that she is workaholic. What is meant by workaholic? Workaholic is a person who is that much dedicated to their work. She says, I've just got to work often harder than classical musicians, but the rewards are enormous. She itself states she has to work hard to reach to the level of other musicians. We know classical musicians, they may be expert in certain fields. She says she has just go to work to reach to their level. Then see, still she never gives up. She keeps on practicing. She keeps on practicing. She says that the rewards that God gives me are enormous. The rewards which I get are enormous. What is meant by enormous? Enormous means something that we cannot rate, that is much above than what we all think. Apart from the regular concerts, She also organizes music programs for in prisons as well as hospitals. She gives free concerts in prisons and hospitals. And after all this, she also gives high priority classes to the young musicians. That much dedicated she was. She was a very busy person. She had a really international hectic schedule. Despite all that, she gives classes and free concerts in prisons and hospitals. And after this, we see that Anne Richland of the Beethoven Fund for Deaf Children says, she is a shining inspiration for deaf children. They see that there is nowhere that they cannot go. Anne Richland says that this girl, that is Evelyn Glennie, is a really an inspiration for all the deaf children. They see that there is nowhere, there is no heights that they can't achieve. If a girl who is deaf can achieve this much, they can also achieve. Others can also achieve. She is a really inspiration for all the handicaps. Yes. Now coming into the 10th, that is the last paragraph. She, Evelyn, has already accomplished more than most people who are twice her age. That is, at such a younger age itself, she has gone into the heights that most of the person cannot achieve. That most of the people who are twice her age can't achieve. She has brought percussion to the front of the orchestra, and she has demonstrated that it can be very moving. She is really an inspiration for all the people, and despite all these, she has also given a pleasure to millions and millions of people. As we know, she organizes free concerts everywhere and she travels all world. At the age of 16 itself, she had traveled to UK alone. And by this time, she is successful in giving pleasure to millions and millions of people. That's all about the chapter. Now let's have a quick summary of this chapter. Sound of Music, Part 1. Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. It's written by Deborah Cowley. She's an Ottawa writer and broadcaster. Now, coming into the paragraph 5 summary. Paragraph 1. Evelyn is waiting for a train to go to London. She has got admission at the Royal Academy of Music, London. She waits for the train, and she's at the same time nervous and excited because the biggest challenge for her was she had become deaf. She was a deaf person. Now, this deafness was a very gradual for her. It was a gradual process. Her mother, Isabel Glennie, had discovered that she had, or Evelyn Glennie had become deaf. Now, after all these things, she was a very hard-working and a workaholic. That is stated by Evelyn itself, that she is a workaholic. What about us? How much can we achieve? We are given really a wonderful and marvelous blessings by God. How much we can achieve if a deaf person can achieve so far. And at the third paragraph, we see after the doctor has discovered that Evelyn has become deaf, she is never ready to give up. Evelyn is never ready to give up. She says she wanted to play xylophone when she noticed a girl playing with it. And Ron Forbes is one of the person who had trained for her. He never gave up. He also made her practice. Coming into paragraph 4, she managed to learn all the lessons, and at the age of 16, she had toured the whole UK with a youth orchestra. Yes, she had auditioned for Royal Academy of Music, and when she finished the course over there, she had started to give solo performances, and she had won the most top awards of the Academy. Coming into the 5th paragraph, as a result of her hard work, she became the world's most sought after multi-percussionist. She had a mastery of over 1,000 instruments, not 1 or 10 or 100, 1,000 instruments. Just think of it. Paragraph 6, Evelyn worked effortlessly without hearing. She worked effortlessly without hearing, and she speaks without any mistakes. She says that my speech is clear because I could hear till the age of 11. She also managed to learn 2 languages, that is French and master basic Japanese. Paragraph 7, Evelyn explains that music flows through every part of her body and resonances flow into her body. In the 9th paragraph, we see Evelyn confesses that she is workaholic and she gives free concerts in prisons and hospitals. And in the last paragraph, she says she has accomplished more than most people, twice her age. She accomplishes most the people twice of her age, and she is a great inspiration for the handicapped. Yes, now that's all for today. Now be in pace or be in track with your portions. Revise it daily so that it won't be a burden when you come back to school. Okay? Thank you.